All right, we should be a little bit better now. Merdud, would you care to do some intros, and I'll start rearranging some names here. I gotta figure out who's here.
Yeah, we're looking good now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mind Clash Podcast, episode 92. News from Down Under, the place down under where we sent some devs, apparently, go talk to a small portion of, well, very active portion of the player base down in Australia. And, there's some interesting things coming out of that event. So we got some very interesting guests here to talk about it. Let's start at the top with Chesser. Tell us who you are, who you fly with, and what do you do?
Hey, I'm Chesser. I am, let's see, the Prince of Reddit, small gang specialist. I fly with Wilderness and Barcode, and yeah, I guess that's me in a nutshell.
You do a significant portion of streaming.
In the last week or so, this is true. Currently, this current stream that I'm on is a significant portion of feeding, but that's about it.
Feeding is part of the streaming life, part of the solo life.
Not when you market yourself as high tier. It's just not allowed.
Maybe. I'm always finding myself feeding. Anyways, Asher, how you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me on. Am I supposed to say what I do?
Well, I think everyone knows who you are, but you should, there's people who live under rocks.
I'm an FC in Goonswarm Federation. I'm the 23rd best FC in that organization.
Goonswarm, are they up and comers? Or,
Yeah. They're a scrappy new group looking to make a name for themselves in nullsec.
Great, excellent. Blood Ruin.
Hey guys, I'm Blood Ruin. Done some YouTube content under the name The Blood Raid. I'm the CEO of Nano Conspiracy in Barcode Alliance, and we're the low tier group in Barcode.
Know your place, peasant.
Excellent. Brisk.
Hey everybody, good to be back on the show. Thanks for the invite, guys. Brisker Ball. I am your CSM 13 member, and I'm here to listen and hear all of the complaints about Capitals that Chesser has, and I also want to apologize to him for killing him in his Macarial the other day. I feel bad.
You mean your Fortizar killed me in my Macarial, right?
Well, no, it was when we dropped on you when you were helping the goons to hit those work walls.
Oh,
so I felt bad.
Oh, the Munins.
I was
40
exactly.
Munins.
I was in the bad Munin fleet. But I'm very interested to hear what you have to say.
It would have been a real poor taste if it was a bunch of supers.
Yeah, that would have been bad. I would have felt really, really bad then.
Excellent. And Cyclo, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Had a good couple of weeks. Been getting back into the grind of the small gang content. How about you?
Yeah, no, I've been good. Prepping. I've been doing a little bit of flying this week. I'm trying to just find wormhole connections as we've kind of secured up our battle against Gangbang Team in the Fountain Residence. So I'm trying to find any wormholes I can, down to go find some content, losing some Salt Frigates, which I should have been doing a while ago, considering how long ago they were buffed. But, finally getting around to it and joining that.
Nice. You should consider tracking where the Thera holes are. Great way to portal through into other regions and find some content.
Yeah, for sure. Losac's not my favorite place to roam, but good chance that I'm going to find content there, and we've been having some good success. And then otherwise, just prepping for the baby. It's next week-ish. Like could happen at any time. Honestly, we're in week 38 now, so we'll see how that goes.
To be honest, you're barely showing, so I'm impressed.
I know. I mean, I ran today. It's trimmed down. Not glowing as much as I usually do, but
all the drinking is a little weird. I got to be honest.
Oh man, I drank a lot yesterday for Canada Day, and not excited to go find my beer tonight. Anyways, Kale, how you doing?
Oh man, I'm doing fairly good. I'm not on duty right now. But I am representing America with my dope ass America flag that's on the back of my. It's a cape on the back of my shirt. America. What do you think of that? That's fucking
Those are
dope,
the
right?
greatest sunglasses I've ever seen, by the
I
way.
know. This all courtesy of the dollar store too. This is what we get in America for $1, baby.
All right.
But yeah, I'm pretty good, man.
If you wanna,
Happy Canada Day to you, Mayor Dud, and other Canadian people.
hey, Kale, if you wanna
Yes,
flex your sunglasses game, man, I'm here for you. Just check out my Twitch, baby. Check it out.
I seen it. I did see it.
You've spotted it. God bless.
Does that mean Kale is confirmed moving into the Hydra hole?
You can try out.
I've been thinking about going back into the whole life.
Did your BL application from last week fall through?
Like I said in Discord earlier, you've probably played a lot more Evil Online than I have lately. It's been none.
Missing out.
I know.
And if you've kept your eyes peeled, there's been some things posted on CC Leaks, and then some of which was confirmed through the Eve Down Under stream this week, where a couple devs were showing off some stuff coming for the July patch. First up from CC Leaks, there is, and from the launcher, you'll see that the Dawn of Liberation is the next agency event coming up. This will be a event where you're fighting in Amar space to free some slaves for the Minmatar Republic. This runs from July 10th to July 24th. Features, of course, a set of skins. These ones for Minmatar ships. The high-end ships being all paid skins for like Panthers, Naglfar, stuff like that. The skins will be in crates, similar to they were in the the last event in the Federation Grand Prix event. So you don't have to go chase down each individual skin. You'll just complete the awards, and you'll get your set of skins, which is nice. And then there's also a set of agency accelerators. Of course, there's a basic, improved, advanced, and extended. The 4 types that we've seen before. And then finally, the new item they're adding into this event is a 4th level to the agency drugs that are available. So this will be dose 4, and this brings a 9% bonus to damage, 9% bonus to tank and in active repairs, and I think a 9% bonus to speed. This is better than the 7%, which was previously available in dose 3. These are obviously, if you've already used these drugs, these are side effect free. So yeah, these will probably be quite valuable. I mean, that 9% damage. Oof. Do you guys run money of these sites? I know you guys are more PvP oriented, but
I
I have
definitely
no
use the
idea what you're
drugs.
talking about.
I definitely hunt people on these sites.
We take the pyro all the time now. It's great.
PvE is mostly haram, unless the PvE you're doing is hunting PvPers or doing PvP and then salvaging the loot. That's really the best way to do it, in my opinion.
It's just not kosher.
I just think it's really boring. Like, I don't play a massively player online game to shoot red X's of NPCs. Because if I wanted to do that, I could go play a myriad of other single player games that have much better PvE content.
100% agree.
fair enough. Well, if you guys want to look good while you're PvPing, there's a bunch of new skins out coming through CC. There's a new set of skins coming for the AT. These are going to be prize skins awarded for the Triple Avian ships. They look pretty sweet. They're like black and white.
They're
Actually,
they're
I
just
think
a
that they are
reskin of
the-
last year's.
Yeah,
they're
they're the
the
zebra
Serpentis.
skin.
Yeah, they're Serpentis Victory skins, and then they're just put on tri-ships. That's it. They didn't even make a new skin.
I mean, they fit well there, though.
I mean, the skin looks good, but I mean, let's be honest here. They didn't make a new skin. They didn't do anything.
They did make a new skin for the Jackdaw, though. They've definitely thrown some new lighting effects on a Jackdaw Quantum Potential skin. That one looks pretty sweet.
I'm waiting for the Star Captain skin for my avatar because it's named the USS America, and it's red, white, and blue.
America.
I need that before July 4th. Really bad.
And then a set of skins for the Concord ships for people who have them. But those will all be trickling out over the July patch and onwards. Otherwise, coming out in the July patch, CCP Fozzie gave a presentation of E Down Under, kind of illustrating some of the new things they're working on, the coming soons, if you have me. A lot of this stuff is not confirmed. Obviously, they're, throw their hands up and can't confirm anything. No deadlines, no timelines on anything, But they're looks like they're getting pretty far on new propaganda structures we can anchor in space to throw up ads, banners, alliance logos, stuff like that. I know our group would probably get a lot of chuckles out of throwing those up on our entrance gates.
All right, I'm good now. Everything's set.
Excellent.
What'd I miss? What are we drinking? What are we drinking tonight? By the way, I have one of my brand new, just barely tapped mango IPA.
I'm not
rocking. I'm rocking Dunkin' Donuts decaf coffee.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'm one of those coffee drinkers where I can actually drink, like, give me a couple shots of espresso and I'll go night night. It's probably not good for my health.
I'm drinking some tea. I'm on that high octane. Healthy, good reaction times.
Was I even in the chat?
Yeah. Other things that they were showing off was a small Stargate. This is the replacement to the Jump Bridge network. Looks like a standalone structure that will be anchored near another structure. So you can take advantage of the guns, similar to the way that jump bridges already have defenses from guns. How do you guys feel about that restriction or non-restriction?
I am happy, and we had, honestly, I was happy that Fozzie went down to Eat Down Under and spoke about some of this stuff, because they had just shown us some of this stuff the other day. And I'm very happy about it, because it means that we are getting one or two steps closer to the complete ending of the POS code and getting rid of all that garbage, which has needed to be fixed for like a decade now. So this is all steps in the right direction. I'm looking forward to it. And we can finally get Stain Guy his low sec gate to Stain now.
Yeah,
There's still a lot of functionality of POSes that they're not replacing. Like, even with this small deployable, it's not going to be the same as a small POS. It's not even close. They were talking about in the order of hours, whereas you can have a small POS up in someone's space in 15 minutes. It really is going to limit your options.
I think they're going to have to tweak that, because I think, part of the reason why they were discussing this was, day tripping for wormholes and stuff like that. And 2 hours for a date, that's not going to work in a wormhole. And I know the wormhole guys are very excited that they were actually going to get potential small structures. So I think I will be pushing for a tweak to that, at least. It's got to be reduced in time.
I personally...
What you guys are referring to are the small player-owned forward operating bases, and these are a 2018 release, a new small structure that'll fall under the Astra House as a structure. And these will have limited storage, refitting, and potentially tethering. Some weapons, no docking, and they're intended to be fast to deploy, but you're saying 2 hours, not fast enough?
No.
Not for the kind of use they use a small POS for.
Exactly. That's way too long.
I mean, large POS goes up in an hour, so...
I look at all of these structure changes, and granted, Asher and some of you would know much more about me than structures, because they are boring as fuck. But what's the point of putting up any structure, these small, like hit and run kind of structures, these FOBs, if you will? Gotta sound really military. If there's nothing to do once you get there, unless you have like 90 or 100 friends, can these FOBs actually facilitate that level of, I guess, engagement? I mean, is that what they do, or can you just drop a super on it from a million miles away and just nix the shit out of it?
Asher will probably answer the nullsec part. I'll speak specifically about Wormhole, because I've been in a couple of groups that do evictions. And one of the first things you do after you have a seed alt and you've scanned out a chain is you take in a Mastodon or another deep space and you erect one or two small POSes, and that is your forward operating base. That's like how you siege or begin the siege of a wormhole. And so you need that to go up quickly, and you need to start getting bodies
Right.
and ships in it. So
Right,
like in a
right.
wormhole,
But
10 people is more than enough. But yeah, I don't know about the nullsec part.
but riddle me this. Your forward operating base doesn't make caps. And if the wormhole you're attempting to evict has any slight intelligence levels, they will have a fax supported gang to rape your face every time you jump into them, unless I'm missing
It
something.
That's
depends
true,
on
and
the
that's
hole,
another
but
issue we have to
yeah,
deal
they,
with.
I mean, that's I think
I just think it's
yeah.
funny we're focusing so much on
I think
shit
that's a
in it.
separate issue. But if you look at Hydra, which was Pos Party's hole, which I was in that eviction like later on in the stages, but they had a lot of capitals and it didn't matter because they didn't hold hole control and enough Macarials and enough ships got seeded into it that it didn't matter. So
Yeah,
they
but that
also
has
used them
nothing to do-
poorly, but
that has nothing to do with the structures. I guess I
but
was
it
just
all
saying because I
starts
think
from getting a small POS or a forward operating base established in there and holding hold control. Like
To
that's
Chester's
how you
point, though, I think you have to realize, I mean, one of the things, and we try to talk about this all the time, is all this stuff is interconnected. I mean, the issues with capitals and the issues with citadels are very closely connected. And, you know, everything we change has an impact on all those other downstream systems. So we have to look into that. So I agree with that. I mean, but just fixing one thing is not going to be enough to get the game, the current meta where it needs to go. But you have to be able to start somewhere. And I think and getting rid of the POS code finally and getting us to all structures, that frees up a lot of resources that they can start using to do other things that need to get done. We can talk
Yeah.
about later.
Sure. I was just trying to answer the question of use case that Chester was saying, like, what's the point? So I don't know. Asher, do you think in nullsec the forward operating bases could actually be used effectively, or are they just gonna like get two shot by supers?
It depends how quickly you put them up. I mean, what you're going to use them for is you're going to run in, put up one, use that to like mid a significant cat fleet in, and use that to deal with like their faxes that Chester was just complaining about. It's going to be a way to get your fleet deeper into their territory.
I mean,
Yep.
but why wouldn't you just use a Retario instead or something?
Well, a Retario takes
Takes a day.
6 days to 6 days to anchor in their space.
I guess
You're kind of tipping off what's happening if you're
Yeah.
letting them know 6 days ahead of time.
am I the only one who still doesn't?
So what features are you looking for in a small deployable?
Myself, I'd like to see it go up very quickly and have tether, and I don't think it needs anything else. If you can do that, then you can do the same things you can do with a POS, which is move a bridging titans forward, or move a capital gang forward. And if you don't have that, it's just going to lead to more risk aversion from major nullsec groups because they're going to be safer in their deep space than even they are now, and they're already super safe. It's one of those things where the people who want to crab the most are going to demand that it takes a while to to anchor, and then it sends out a screamer so they can have an automated tool, and that you can't tether a cap to it because all that makes them safer.
I would really like to see, as far as like things to look for in the fobs, a hard limit on how many you can have in a system, like maybe one, especially with all the Citadel spam we have nowadays. And like this will be a lot less ISK wise, right? So it'll be a lot easier just to pump them out and put like 20 in each system.
So now that my microphone is working, is it working now?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, so now that my microphone is working, I kind of still have a problem with the going from a medium structure where I mean it's almost an unlimited amount of ships you can have there, with the exception of the size of the ship, to a small, and you can have 0. It just doesn't seem to make sense to me.
You mean docked?
Yeah, docked.
I mean tether. I don't understand what's the difference between tethering and docking particularly.
I mean, if you're trying to make a little, a little home away from home. I don't know. Just to me, it seems like you're going from a mobile depot, a pause, and then a small, which has you can only tether, can't dock in it, can't really do much else besides, all right, pack it up, pack it in, let me begin.
I get that reference.
You're welcome.
I mean, the only thing you can't do on tether, right, is refit. Like everything else is roughly, available to you. I don't really care about docking particularly. I mean, I want to be mad if they added it, but certainly, tethering gives you a lot of options.
If they do add it, it has to be for subcaps only. Otherwise,
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, mediums are subcap.
Yeah. there needs to be like a mass capacity or something like you have with ship maintenance arrays on POSes, because otherwise it just becomes a cheaper, smaller citadel
Mm-hmm.
that can hold infinite amounts of things. So
You know the command base from StarCraft, the human command base? How it
One-
can get up and move.
Is that the one that needs more pylons?
Sorry. I
You mean a
play
command
hardcore
center?
StarCraft. It's a command center. I see.
yeah,
Sorry.
it's like
Command center, like where they build their workers.
Yes.
How you can lift it off and you can move it to the next system.
Yes. But in professional real play, it's hardly ever used because it's very slow, it's defenseless, and yeah.
You see it in StarCraft 2 a lot in professional play, but you don't see it as
I
much
mean,
in StarCraft 1.
but it's less optimal. It's usually as like a last resort, or it's not part of an optimized build.
What's the point of this though?
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know where you're going with this conversation.
What if small fobs were a ship that could be piloted, unanchored from a location,
No.
and then
no more
piloted to the
capitals,
next system?
No more capitals.
People
Oh my
have said
God.
this before, like a siege mode to offer a tether or something. I mean, it's an interesting idea. It just depends on the cost. But it's not a terrible idea actually, especially if you could have a cloning system. Like if they actually fixed cloning, so that you could move this ship forward, like with other ships in it, and then you could use that to get into enemy space and undock a certain amount of ships or a certain class of ships, like say cruisers and down or something. That'd be a cool way to do it. But I don't think they're going to invest the effort into coding that.
I can just see the next time I tackle a haven or tackle a carrier in a haven. Oh, hey, look, a citadel's warping in.
But it would need some timer to spin up. Like that'd be ridiculous if it was instantaneous.
Yeah, really long anchor time, maybe a jump drive so it could move to a Sino and then anchor in a forward operating system, right?
Oh.
I mean, you're complaining, Chester, but that's something that you could use effectively.
Oh, really?
I think you could use it in small
Project.
game. Yeah, that's you can drop this thing wherever you want to roam, and you have a base to go back to, and you nullify the advantage that the bad guys have.
See, this
just
is
warp in with
nullify the advantage that the
No,
bad guys have.
yeah,
Maybe,
To a certain extent,
No,
Absolutely
because-
not. Okay, so here's the issue I was trying to bring up about the wormhole thing is people are looking at this structure situation as if citadels are the core issue. And don't get me wrong, I fucking hate citadels. I hate tethering. It's fucking bullshit. But if I do put a citadel in your space, your deep space, me and my 6 guys, what does it serve me? What does it do for me? Absolutely nothing. It's useless. The content that I can get from you, or that I try to find with less than 100 people in fleet, is fast, rapid, in and out in an hour. Your structure that you put up is blaring on everyone's local bots. You're certainly not going to catch anyone because with local and the all-seeing eye of Intel bots, you have, once you break through your wormhole, you have minutes, if that, to do anything. That's assuming that they're not, completely AFK, which is basically the only people you catch nowadays are completely AFK. So how, explain to me in the capital meta that exists by me putting my piddly little base deep in your space that benefits any type of small game play style at all? I would love to hear it.
I mean, you're comparing a roam versus we're talking about a more
Versus what? Compared to what? I don't. Roaming is what you would do from this little thing, is it not? Is that would not the intention? Unless it's only meant to be a little leapfrog, lily pad for the, need to move our fleet, get the hot drop going.
No, I've moved in people's spaces many times before for a week or two and got a lot of great kills out of doing that. Like that's the important thing is they scatter for an hour.
Roaming for
how
a week
many
or two?
people? Yeah, was it 50 guys that
Roaming?
went with you or 200? How many people were on
20
that
to 30.
excursion?
20 to 30, yeah.
20 to 30 out of Goon Swarm. I don't want to say I don't believe you, Asher, because I I've worked with you before. You seem like a pretty legit dude, but I'll be honest with you, man. I find it hard to believe that Goon Swarm would commit 20 to 30 people to an area, and if they just had 20 to 30 subcaps, that it wouldn't immediately be dropped on and absolutely leveled off the field.
If you know anything about my group Reavers, I've been doing that for 5 years, and we just all we do is run kiting doctrines and get people engaged, kite them, fight them, and usually win. Although we've had some big losses before. So I mean that's pretty much 100% my playstyle is going into other people's space, causing troubles, fighting them, and usually winning the fights. That's how we play. And it's 20 to 30 people in any fleet.
Yeah, I mean, my group iron, like if we were to go fight against somebody's Fortizar just outside of our active jump range, having a small structure, we could jump into pre-stage our ships, say a half an hour before the fight. It would make a lot more sense kind of as an Eve playstyle thing, as well as a practical, now we have a structure on grid so we can siege as Fortizar, than going a week before and anchoring a Fortizar on the same grid and then skynetting our carrier fighter groups over to their Fortizar. Like, that is silly to me.
That's the thing. It gives you something to fight over if you're sieging someone. Like if you can get a tether structure up in their system, it makes your your approach a lot better, because you want to get in system earlier, but you don't want to be sitting in a safe for 3 hours while they hunt you. So for those reasons, if you can get one up, if it takes like 15, 20 minutes and they don't catch it, or you can defend it, then you've really increased your capability, and you have capability repair to reship, possibly, or at least to refit. All those things are really useful in a siege like that.
Chester, you
So-
do this a lot. Can you not think of any benefit to having a small structure like this for a small gang?
So what you consider to be small gang, 20 to 30 guys, I
say
consider to be
10 to 15.
boring as shit once you're at 20 to 30 people. It's very boring. I don't like. I'm like, again, nothing against you or your play style. I'm not saying that what you do, you don't do well, because obviously you work for Goonswarm, which is, the corporeest of them all, which means you have to be good at what you do to have the whole position you are. And again, it goes against nothing that, but from my play style, from my point of view, and what I think Eve needs a lot of help in is I don't want to have me and 30 of my friends online for me to be able to accomplish anything in Eve. I think that is a terrible fucking gameplay choice.
Not everything has to be for everyone, but yeah, I mean,
I realize that, and I'm not saying that my play style is the best, nor should it be better than anyone else's or more catered to. That's not what I'm arguing. I'm just saying that small groups of people, 10 and down, roaming throughout space in subcapital ships, have a potential to generate a lot of content. There's a lot of content generation to be had there, and it's being completely washed over because of the current climate of nullsec and the current climate of the Eve player base. And maybe the life cycle of Eve is maybe the best indicator. A small structure for me is irrelevant because I have 10 people maximum. I can't defend a static location. That's not what we do. That's not how we do anything.
You don't even have enough for the logistics to get that, reinforced and stuff.
The idea that I would want to waste my time with 10 guys sending up a forward operating base and then to attack a Fortizar? What? Why would I want to log on to EVE Online the game in 2K18 and shoot a structure that can be insta-tethered with fucking nixes all over the place? Why would I want to do that with 10 people? First of all, it's completely impossible.
I understand what you're saying. My question is, and I'm trying to ask, can you foresee any potential benefits to a small structure for a 10-man gang?
Absolutely not.
I can think of a few.
Absolutely none. Because the only reason that we can do anything in nullsec currently is because of the absolutely breathtaking levels of incompetence that occupy nullsec. That is it. Anyone that is even remotely at their computer, A, will never be caught because of intel bots and local, but B, Citadels provide such an overwhelming safety net that there is nothing we can do at all. So that's what
we lost a lot. I think we lost a lot of interesting things when we lost the station camping, because tether just makes it really, really easy to get out of your station.
I agree with that.
There is no way to force a fight.
Station camping. It's not even just station camping. You used to be able to jump a dictor into someone's system and go set up like stop bubbles on station before you jump.
MJD desis on
and people
stations.
would get really scared when you jump your gang in, and they'd all just warp to station, and you'd be able to catch one or two guys out, and fights might form from that, right?
Yeah,
you could
tether
even
made that too safe.
Well, and you could also do stuff like turn off cloning facilities that were in the station with an Entosis, right? But as soon as Citadels became introduced and stations became redundant, there's no reason to ever create content in that way or provoke content in that way, which was, I think, a huge negative as well.
Basically, there's no way to promote content. Structures will not fix it. And if the barrier to entry of making content in nullsec is, well, you and your 30 guys need to go and make a structure and then not make it, but go plant a structure and then get ready for that deep in enemy space.
I mean, that's just like a beacon of, hey, here we are, like, come drop your shit and fucking kill us. You know what I mean? Like the
Well,
entire idea
Well,
is like,
I mean, what I would say when we've taken, and I had the absolute most fun I've ever had in Eve in 10-man remote rep mages and smaller groups that Pando, or one of our lead FCs, used to take out. We used to take them out all the time. We haven't done it very much lately, but it's fun. But if you know where you're going to go roam, you know where you want to get the content. You have one of these things. You park it somewhere off the main beaten path, but you know it's there. You can stay out long. I mean, that's what I would use it for. You guys go, you get a good fight, you get your ass kicked. You guys are running around in hole. You want to keep fighting. You go back, you rep up, you come back, you keep fighting. I mean,
Replace
that's
your
how
drones.
I
I
see
mean,
it.
but
that's not the reality of how.
No.
I-
how are
I'm-
you going to get the logistics and get more ships there? Like, that's not realistic with
I
10
wouldn't say you
people.
don't need the ships there. You just need the tether and the repair from any of these small structures.
The other issue
could
is
just
like
go into
as
wormhole.
far as repairing and everything like
Good.
this, there are very rare circumstances. I'm talking like 1 or 2 times in a month where I feel like, oh my god, this is such a good fight. I need to reship immediately. I need to get ships here. It's finding content at all, and the content that you finding fightable content and or even
Yeah.
slightly fightable content. It's never oh, I'm getting so much content. I wish I had a place to dock to repair my heat. That's like
Well, and
look, when we
people-
go down to
the
Gemini,
the mobile depot does that for me. I
we
can
go
carry
down,
more
we go down to
mods. I can carry
Gemini.
everything with me.
When we go down to Geminate and we go down to fight Horde, when we go down to fight Brave and Catch, you know, and we're near their main systems and they're going to blob us, having the ability to have at least somewhere we can go back and then come back in later, run a little bit, come back, and I think that would hit and run type stuff to generate the content. I think that would be useful.
Well,
But again,
if you have a
that's
wormhole into
not-
their space, that's what you're doing. You can go back into that wormhole. You have a citadel there, like, you know,
Well, I
that's
mean
the
that works.
situation
That works for
Chezzer
the
and
remote guys. That doesn't work for the null set guys like us.
yeah.
I don't have stuff.
Okay,
staged
that
in my
remote
home
rep
index.
Megas fleet. How many people were in it? You said that was like a ton of fun. How
It was
many
a
people?
max 10. It was 10. We only had
Okay.
10.
Why? So with those Megases, where did you go? Like, why? I'm assuming you just went to an NPC station that was nearby.
No, I mean we were out and basically last time I remember we did it. We roamed through Catch. We smacked Brave around a little bit. We went in their staging. We fought them. They weren't expecting it because it's not just mages. It's a bunch of other stuff combined. Some T3Ds and some other stuff. And it's big enough and it's small. It's big enough to be able to fight for a while, but it's small enough that folks think that they can blob you pretty easily, and they're not expecting the remote reps. They see, oh, this group doesn't have any logi, and they just drop stuff on us and we kill it. So, but the amount of time we spend out is based on, like Chester said, who's going to provide us content if we find anything. Along roams, I have the same exact problem you had. We took Crusaders out and we're just doing interceptor roams, and we were going through 60, 70 systems and finding nothing, and that drives me crazy.
Asher,
And I don't think these little things would fix that, but
again, like in all the respect, like I am giving you the benefit of the doubt, but like I'm trying to be as frank as possible. No one wants to fight 60 Crusaders. That is an AIDS blob. No one wants to fight that, and I would be very hard pressed to believe that you and 8 of your Goon Swarm fam head out on Scepter fleets. 8 or the 10-man Megas blob. Again, if you did bring that to P Horde, you would die. You would die in a fire if you were in an RR Megas fleet. Like, or you wouldn't kill much because you're MJDing everywhere and out of your drone control range. Like, I just don't believe the numbers are too low to be almost believable. And I think
Do you think I'm Brisk?
Do I think I'm what?
Do you think I'm
he's
Brisk?
getting us confused.
Yeah,
Wait,
okay.
I'm sorry. I'm getting both of you confused. My bad. I'm sorry.
Where did we
Just because we're both white
derail?
guys doesn't
Dude,
mean
I'm
we should assume
sorry.
this.
I'm sorry.
We're
But
all
like, I guess
teams, right?
like from what I'm hearing is like maybe I'm just like real bad at Eve, which is totally potential, but like some of it just doesn't make sense to me. Like getting good fights with 10 Megases, RR Megases, so
No.
brawling with like one
Well,
MNABs.
And I'm not explaining myself well. It is not. I was flying in Magus. They had other folks that were flying other ships in this 10-man doctrine, but it's a small doctrine. It's remote rep. It's designed to be quick, jump in, we grab some stuff, and nobody's expecting it because we don't have logi, so they assume it's going to be simple and they just feed. And we've done that a couple times. I wish Pando was here because he'd give you more details because I'm just
I would be
a
interested to hear
pilot.
about
I'm
it,
not
but-
the FC guy. But we have fun with that, and I honestly like the small gang stuff. I wish I did more of it. And I at least in terms of the small structure stuff, I feel like There's got to be ways for us to create more content. And I think that something small like this is a tool that will help that. And maybe it'll only help in the big Asher style, staging caps type way. But at the very least, at least for those of us that still participate in that side of PvP, that's still a benefit over what we have now.
I mean, okay, so let's just say in a hypothetical situation, Brisk, that the small forward operating base was everything I as a small ganger wanted. So now I'm in your space, I'm around, all is well. It still doesn't fix the underlying issue of what am I going to find? I'm going to find intel bots, instant local. Basically, the only people that you catch are so brain dead that they're actually AFK without their bot or intel thing or listening to it. And if you do happen to catch something, there's no way in hell you can kill it. And many things can be done to insta-kill your gang that have no counter.
I think the thing that would be best for you, Chezzer, and I think this is what should be done, because it'd be good for the game, is they should come down really hard on Rorqual tank. Like, I think Panic is a fine module because it forces fights, but Rorqual tank plus Panic is stupid. The Rorquals are way too hard to kill. And I'm in a situation where we killed the CO2 Rorqual last night, and we had 60 people in fleet, and we had, I don't know, 35 Ishtars. And had we had 2 or 3 less, we would not have killed it. Like, we had just enough to break a little bit of his triple Ansel rep each time. But if we had just a little less DPS, it would have lived.
He was triple Ansel? I thought the main go-to fit was double Ansel.
No, all the big fits now, or all the people who are really
Ansel is the best way to do it because
triple Ansel passive.
Yeah. Permaron and never stop, and needs don't matter.
You can't mute it out either. It's bullshit.
So I think now at the end of the loop, at the end of the train station here that we've derailed on, I think we need to tweak the idea of the small citadel. Is that what we're getting at?
That forward operating base.
I mean, I think for Chezzer's use case, he's not using small pots right now, so it's not replacing anything that he's doing. So it's not like it's a negative or a positive to him. There's a lot of other things that there's other uses for it that I hope they introduce or reintroduce, because if they get rid of passes and make this thing anchor in 3 hours, it's going to be relatively worthless.
Well, there's some other tweaks that we could probably mention.
Yeah, and they're going to obviously come up with a Sinojammer structure to replace the Sinojammer module that currently sits on some bosses. Some groups still use, for better or worse.
Sinojammers are, they're a very powerful tool. I don't think they are needed really in this day and age. Like, everyone has a giant cat blob, and you're just denying the cat fights because people don't fight over them like they used to. It used to be you could fight over it with subs, and carriers were strong with sentries, but there were ways around that to some degree, even though they were still really strong. But now carriers are so strong that if you brought a battleship fleet in to try to take out a Sinojammer, it wouldn't work. There's no way that anyone with 30 carriers doesn't stop you.
Yeah. I mean, there's some groups that use it. They get their caps in there like a wormhole once you're seated with caps, and then people have to fight with Black Ops or coming through a gate. But I mean,
as long as it's a structure, I'm okay with it. I think my concern, and I think Sort and I talked about this offline the other day, was if it's treated like an Upwell structure and the Sino inhib is part of one of the modules, then that I would be really concerned about.
I think
you're never going to knock those offline.
Well, not everyone, but I think many people would be happy if all of the modules on Citadels were separate so that you could reinforce them. That would be a nice bonus, I think, to making them more accessible to fight.
I'll put that on my list.
I'd love to see nodes on the sun that you could Entosis to turn off, all cloning in that system for the group or something. That would drive content a little bit better.
Or what if there was a module that collected bounties from all the ratting, and you could warp there and steal it, but it wasn't on a keep star or in a death site? I'm trying to think of a module, maybe like a.
What do they call those again?
Yeah, that's something.
Something or other.
Yeah, it's something like that. I don't know.
Sounds like a good idea.
I barely see those being used. Even when they can be put on that.
Yeah.
Oh, those are still in use.
We had a huge issue. They're almost impossible because we had a huge issue. I remember a year ago when we were dropping these to try to farm some LP, and half the players were like, "Why are you stealing my ticks? You fucking kidding me?"
It causes so much crap drama, which is funny.
It's
Crap drama is funny,
absolutely
but it's
absurd.
I'm
people
I
get
mean-
tired of it.
They're also impossible to steal if you put them in the right spot. You can put them in like a forlorn hub and escalate all the waves, and
I've stolen
Unless-
so many of them. I've stolen so many of them by parking my scepter in a safe spot, ejecting, going over in my pod, stealing from it, and then just burning, warping back to the scepter after I get out of the bubble, warping in and taking the thing that I bookmarked. I've stolen so many that way. It's super easy to do because lots of people don't defend them. They're like, oh, it's in a forlorn hub. It'll take care of it.
And it's somebody else's problem.
Speaking of the citadels in conjunction with anchorables, I read, and I can't remember if it was all of these new structures, like the Sinojammer and the new Stargate jump bridge thing that's buildable, or if it's just specific ones. But wasn't there at least one of them that could be anchored within the gun range of a citadel? That seemed kind of
that's the Stargate.
yeah, it seemed kind of
We're talking about it,
anti-content.
Yeah, it's to
Citadel guns are
mimic.
worthless. Citadel guns are worthless against non-capitals. Like they don't matter. So
I mean, you say that, but wasn't there a guy who hunted Goon Swarm a lot with like a Naglfar? Whenever they'd take a freighter through a jump bridge or something, he'd sino in the Nag and kill it.
oh, you're talking about ninking? Yeah, lots of people do that. But that's on a POS, and the POS kills it eventually. But insured T1 Dread is much better, or it's always worth trading for a jump freighter.
Yeah, but if you
And it
did
still
try to
will
do the
be.
same thing on like a Keepstar, then you probably wouldn't even have the time to tag down the freighter.
I mean, yeah, if someone is gunning to Keepstar when it happens immediately and they start locking you up immediately, maybe you don't kill the freighter, but I think you probably still do.
Merida, did you cover the other tweaks that are coming?
Nope, there's some other
perfect.
structure-related changes coming in the July patch. They're going to throw Alliance logos on the Conquerable Station and Outpost monuments that were part of the flip from Conquerable Stations to the faction Fortizars.
And this is coming in July, date to be determined, right?
I'm thinking July 10th to come out with the new agency event, but yeah,
Wait,
could
what?
could be changed.
Another one of those, huh?
Yeah.
Where do you people hear of these things?
It's in our show notes. I mean,
Fuck me.
the two special cases are they're going to be a swap. VFK is going to be moved from Slice to Condi in commemoration of Vilerat. And X-Tech R is going from Test to CVA, and that's in Providence. They're also increasing the reprocessing output of Starbase, POS industry, and moon mining structures. These are to push people to start reprocessing all of these old POS mods and break them down so we don't have as many of them out there in space. They're also going to end the dropping of faction Starbase VPCs from NPCs and containers. And the final tweak they're looking to push out is the structure under attack notification will only be sent at 95% health and not at 99.99% health.
Oh, that's trash. I love spamming those. It's a good way to get them like to stop looking at their structure.
The problem is that rats also love spamming them.
That's a good thing too.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Ship-wise, in the July patch, there's going to be a buff to the Zealot. It's going to get a drone bandwidth bonus and a 50 M3 drone bay. The Retribution is going to get a 10% nerf to speed. And the Claw is going to get a change from its projectile damage bonus, which it already has 2 of right now. And one of them is going to become a rate of fire bonus. So increasing its core DPS, but reducing its alpha.
All good changes.
I don't think the Retribution change is going to do anything because the main strength of the Retribution is its damage output and range, not so much its speed. It's still going to be plenty fast. So
Well, it's gonna
Well,
it's
the
gonna
Retribution-
do the slicer like knockoff thing, but that's not where I think most Retribution problems are.
Well, the thing with the retribution is the slicer is just a lot faster and more agile, where the retribution has, the more tank and is slower and a lot less agile.
I
But
mean, I'm just
my
comparing the
problem with the
retribution.
retribution change is that it's still going to be really strong if you fly it with like high grade snakes, which seems like that's what the nerf is kind of focused around. But if you fly it as just an unsnaked pilot and a cheap fit, that's where it's really gonna hit you and hurt a little bit more, which I kind of don't like. I feel like they should have changed the damage bonus to like a tracking bonus or something.
I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
speaking more, you go, Joseph.
I was just gonna say the speed nerf, or if you want to even call it a nerf, I don't even feel it, dude. Just take overclocker
Exactly.
and you're like totally Gucci. Like that's not why the retribution is flown, not for its speed. That's not it at all. It's its projection and damage. And the damage mitigation is nice too, but like it just goes to show like of all the things we worry about in the game, it's like, well, better bring that speed back 10 or sorry, 28 MS. That'll
Yeah, and
I
like
love it.
I think Asher, you were kind of pointing at like more assault frig fleets, and again, when you compare the retribution even in that meta to all the other assault frigates, it just outperforms
better.
them. Yeah, in damage and application and range more than anything else. Also, I find it funny that they're tweaking the speed on this, but they're not doing anything about the Jaguar, which is like a huge Ramboy ship right now. Like people don't even put guns on them. They fit it with like 2 NOSes, M-dub, medium shield extender, a medium Ansel, and a scram, and like maybe an afterburner or something, and they just ramboy it at anything and tackle it with like 40k EHP, and they go 5k a second, and it's like CCP is not doing anything to the Jag speed, which is kind of amusing to me.
Kills a lot of solo kiting.
I mean, it kills solo kiting, hard tackles, like anything that you want, pretty much. And
It's just solo and small gang gets wrecked by that ship. If your ship has no way to completely shut that ship down instantly, you're going to get rammed and you're fucked. And that thing will stick on you forever with the scram, ADC, double MS, MASB.
yeah, and they just put like overdrive nano in the low, or like
I mean,
ADC. Yeah.
this is going into a deeper rabbit hole about the entire idea of a tough frigate and how stupid that is in the meta, but here we are. So
Anyway, retribution change. Good,
irrelevant.
good try. Like, yeah,
Well, hey, we can all get behind the Fozzie Claw nerf, right?
yeah,
Sure.
I love it. It doesn't nerf like the small gang roaming claw, which
That's a
I
problem.
was kind of worried about, but it nerfs the real problem, which is the Fozzie Claw itself. Because in a lot of places, you can't really roam effectively without using like some kind of interceptor, and the claw is just by far the best one to use.
like Delve.
Wow, that's spicy. The other big thing to note is the Zealot, incredible kiting ship, has a drone bay now. Woohoo! Great. Another big fix that this game needed. This was the big concern I always had when I undocked my Zealot. Oh,
Well, I mean,
when's that drone bay coming?
Zealot, the problem with Zealot is core to the game, and that's that long webs that are really strong and hard to kill exist. Like a Zealot fleet needs to kill webs as quickly as possible, and Lokis that are pre-locked are not going to be killed by anything that can't just volley them off, which is hard to do. So you're going to have pre-locked Lokis, webbing Zealots, and if the Zealots can't kill them, then your Zealot fleet dies, and you're afterburning. So you could just be bubbled. It's really hard to get out. But there's no way for CCP to address that, like,
Power grid.
Yeah,
I think they could add power grid, because one of the big problems with the Zealot is that you can't fit like a micro plus your long range guns and like a 1600 plate, which is going to be necessary for it to be successful. So a lot of fits you're just going to see going with like the 10 MN, which, yeah, you're right. If there is the Loki there, then that's going to be a huge issue, especially if you can't touch it quite right with a good close range ammo or something.
I was on the T3C like focus group, and I was trying to push that really hard, trying to push that we need to make the Loki web less range, but like no one agreed with me. I think it's a fundamental issue with the game, because there are so many styles of fleets that never get flown, they never get out of the conception stage, because like, oh, Lokis exist, they have long webs, and we won't be able to kill them, and so this kind of style, like a Sigting style, can't exist anymore. Hugins, like, they make sense because you can kill them, like even a pre-rep Hugin can be punched through. but Lokis are so much stronger that I think it's a huge problem, and it ruins fleets like Zealots that will never get off the ground.
I
Also,
agree.
it's
And
for the small gang meta, also just really slow in comparison to.
I mean, it is slow, but you can get around it with proper positioning and the right shit on it. But I mean, I like the Zealot and small game meta, but what you're talking about with large game meta obviously is T3Cs are
very different. Yeah.
they're very
I kinda-
fucking oppressive all the
But
time.
I
But the
think
problem with the T3Cs was exactly what Asher said, was that when they redid the Lokis, they overpowered them so much that, I mean, to the point that you never see anything. I mean, maybe you'll see
Yeah.
Tengus, but you'll never see anything other. You'll never see a Proteus anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're too damn slow, and they just totally destroyed that. So
Well,
they need to do another balance pass on the T3Cs because they fucking
the Loki does everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
and does it well, and there's no downside.
It's the
It's-
Tengu of 3 years ago or 4 years
That's
ago.
exactly what
or
it is. Yep.
it's the carrier of subcaps.
It's the
I'm-
fuel
I'm
for the
curious,
T3
though.
Honestly,
demon.
though,
I
the
mean,
Loki's effective small gang, it's in my opinion probably the best solo ship in the game right now, and it's also good in fleets, so it has
Yeah.
no weakness.
I'm actually curious though. I feel like with the buff to the Zealot, just giving the
buff?
drone bay is just kind of weird.
It's not thought out.
Yeah, it's
it's
not at
typical
all.
CCP.
I
Typical
feel like
CCP.
playing with the traits would be a lot better there. If you could change the traits around Chester, what would you do with the Zealot? Out of curiosity.
I honestly wouldn't change it. I like the Zealot. I mean, it's a little slow, but for what I use it as, what I see it as, which is like a thick ONI, like it is heavy damage. Like it does 500 DPS out to 55 or close to 60 with implants and drugs. Like it's a deadly ship. It's really good. Like you sacrifice a little bit of mobility for it, but like it brings good damage, projection, tracking, and it has a good tank. Like it's a little slower option, but like if you have control with you, I think it's a good ship. Like I'm okay with some ships having known weaknesses in their play, not a hard rock paper scissors style, but like a weakness. Like the Zealot's a little slower, so like you have to build the fleet comp kind of through it. Like from my point of view, that's how I look at it. Like I mean, if we want to get into like balance discussions, we can get into it. But I mean, the Zealot as a standalone device didn't need a fucking drone bay. Like what?
What
I
about
think that's
Asher?
the idea.
Asher, what do you think?
CCP keeps trying to balance the frigates. I think are a little out of whack with more drones. Like they did that with the Eagle as well. The problem is, I think that the Zealot is unbalanceable as a fleet ship. People want to fly Zealot fleets. They're extremely popular. People always say, oh, I'd love to fly a Zealot fleet. That's super common. But there's no way for CCP to make that happen. Unless you turn the Zealot into such an overpowered murder boat that it wouldn't, that it would just be Zealots online. But the role as it's defined cannot work in the current meta with like the webs that I've already mentioned. So I don't think you could balance it for that. I know CO2 runs a Zealot fleet, but that's GigX. I mean, he's going to just do what he wants, not what's the optimum move.
I think
Black Legion runs one as well.
I think it's
they run
important.
mutants, not
Yeah,
Zealots.
mutants.
They've been
think-
running Zealots lately.
Nightmares, Unions, Ishtars? No, they don't run Zealots.
I haven't run into them in Zealots, but I run into them in Mutants all the time.
Yeah, Alpha.
The
Alpha's
Killboard
king,
says
baby.
otherwise.
Yeah, but like
Exactly
I'm personally 100% okay with creating ships from the ground up that are designed for either fleet or they're designed for more of like the solo kind of work. Like I think that's okay. Do I think the Zealot should be a solo ship? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like I personally like there are some ships I don't touch because they're like fleet ships. Like for example, a Rail Ferox, great in fleets. It has no use in small gang. It's irrelevant, and I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? Like
Not every ship is for everything.
exactly. I
but
think.
Is the Zealot even a small gang ship at this point? I know you said you like it at some things, and that's okay, but it doesn't match what people want for it. I think is the problem. Like, they want it to be a fleet ship.
We can that's fine. The small gang meta right now is defined by one thing, and it's called capitals, which makes the
Yeah.
Zealot not really that usable. I mean, it is kind of usable, but there are much better options for sure. That's what stops it. Otherwise, yeah, I love the Zealot. Like the Oma Navy issue, in the kind of in the same vein of the Zealot, like that Omar long range kite setup is very strong. If well flown, it's a very good ship.
I think we can all agree, though, just the drone bay change won't really do much.
It's
of
irrelevant.
anything.
I think the
Yeah.
idea was that the Zealot could protect itself from webs and scrams, or mostly webs from. I'm talking about the fleet perspective, but it's not going to work.
Oh yeah. Drone blade doesn't help it in the fleet, and a light drone bay flight is not going to save you from an AF or something like that. Definitely not.
So the other place that those drones may be used is in the Abyss, where the cruisers are, of course, the meta of choice. As the only Abyss that's currently available. But Fozzie was saying in his announcements that there will be some changes coming to the Abyss in the July patch, bug fixes to some of the NPCs. There'll be new multiplasmids, mutaplasmids for Nosferatus and Cap batteries.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Sorry.
very heinous.
That hurts my soul.
And they're going to be changing the name disintegrator modules from drops to BPCs, as well as a general loop table rebalance. No details. Find out for yourself.
Isogen 10, please more. So we can actually build the shacks for less than 1.8 billion in material cost.
Sounds like a place to fix things. It also sounds like from that talk that they were interested in pursuing further down the Abyss rabbit hole. It sounds like a team that's been working on the Abyss is continuing to work on more Abyss-like content. Could this be frigate content? Could this be battleship content? Could this be Abyss kind of PvP content? Could this be more cruiser content at higher tiers? We don't know, but it's all under wraps. Maybe Brisk knows. Who knows?
Oh, he definitely
If
knows.
I knew and I could tell you, I would have to kill you.
I know.
I'm actually sad to hear that because I don't want more instancing. I don't want more people sitting in 300 AU safes that are, I just, I mean, the Abyss is cool, but again, it's implementation is I
Do
guess
you hunt any of those guys, Chester?
I mean, if I happen to see an Abyss on DScan, will I wait around? Yes, sure, why not? That's not the thing, but like done well, they're impossible to catch because you got a 300 AU safe and then good to go. Whatever.
Do you not feel this is teaching a new breed of solo cruiser pilots how to fly their ships well?
Not at all.
Absolutely not. It's a guy comes out of an Abyss. You have to have a mobile depot to drop down on top of his Abyss, so that way he can't just re-enter his site. That's the first thing you have to have with you. And the second thing is, like, a lot of times, do you really want to sit and wait 15-20 minutes? Like, I've been in a few times where someone has a cloaky eyes on the outside. They know I'm sitting there, and they're like, "I'm not going to give you the pleasure of the kill," so they just kill themselves in the Abyss. Which I personally think is hilarious.
I did that literally last night in a Vagabond. So like I was running them in my wormhole because I'm like chill, and I had a scout on the wormhole. Guys come in. There's like 6 Stratioses and stuff, and I was like, well, there's no point in me coming out. I'm gonna die one way or the other. So
yeah.
I was just like, and it wasn't horribly expensive, so I just like died. I was like, done. Like,
I don't know. I just think it's lame. It's like so many extra steps. Like now you have to have a combat prober with you, and now like it's just like, oh god.
I don't mean so much the content that you're going to have by interacting with that player. I mean that player learning to fly their ship better than.
inside?
No,
No,
not even close. That's actually, yeah, it would be a funny dream, but no, not even close.
It's like idealistic, right? Because so there's some mechanics in there that are a lot like burner missions, or like where they're more complex than normal PvE. Like you can look and you can see that there's some repair effects and things, but once you've run like 4 or 5 of them, it becomes, you just look at it and you go, okay, entanglers are going to be a high priority. Like whatever light weavers or whatever, the remote rep, they're going to be a high priority, and you kill those and you just rinse and repeat, and like it becomes again relative, like it's less repetitive than normal, but it's still formulaic once you have an idea of what to do and what clouds to use to your benefit, and it doesn't translate to PvP. Like it doesn't translate to understanding speeds of ships and how to mitigate damage and how transversal will benefit you and all these other aspects that, and range control, like that doesn't really come into a lot of play in a lot of these sites, I don't think.
Has there been a?
You'd be surprised that.
I'm
I
sorry.
mean, some of the higher tier sites, you've got to know that stuff, or you're going to get blanked off the field.
I mean, I've been running
but you also got
tier 4s like nonstop in a Vagabond and a Serb, and I like it's rinse and repeat.
Has there been an uptick?
To a certain extent, yeah.
Has there been an uptick as far as anybody sees, as far as new players coming in? They see this content on Twitch and they think, they want to join and start playing EVE Online because of that. Have you seen a little bit of uptick from that?
I think some people came back to try it, but I don't think you're really drawing new people in with this.
I agree.
Yeah, it doesn't
This is
draw new
irrelevant.
people.
This is an Arcanus' Law thing, if I ever saw it.
Think like a new bro. Like you see just basically a bunch of spreadsheets on somebody's screen when they're undocked when you first look at the game,
Mhm.
right? Between the overview or watch lists, maybe a fleet window, just inventory, a whole bunch of stuff, and it's just a lot to take in. Most new dudes probably don't know the difference between PvE and PvP as far as just looking at the screen and saying it.
So
I would be curious to see, and I think only like CCP would know this, so Brisky might want to ask, but like I would be interested to see what the rate of running like level 4 missions, how that maybe has changed, because I see that as more of a direct replacement. Abyssals to like level 4s, and some of those being more like translating better than really like an entry to PvP. Which
I
I
don't think
still
we've
think.
gotten the data yet. I mean,
Okay,
I'm waiting to
gonna
see.
say.
I
I
don't
still.
think we've seen the data yet.
Okay, I still think like this content is better than level 4s. It's much more
Oh,
entertaining.
yeah,
but-
I agree. I
It's
mean,
way better than missions.
yeah.
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 But again, I think we said it earlier in this stream where if you want a good PvE game or if you want a good single player game in your little abyss, there
You're
are
not playing Eve.
exactly, there are multitudes of games better to play. So why would you
Mhm.
waste your time? And that's why, I mean, I can understand why CCP is pushing this direction. Again, they're just trying to keep the lights on over there. They've got to make Halo 7 right now. So that's what they're working on. So
Dude, I'm actually pumped for Nova if it ever
I'm
comes
actually
out.
not. Oh god, dude, I cannot be optimistic because this is why I cannot be optimistic. World of Darkness, Incarna, Dust, Valkyrie,
Yeah.
and some of the other things that we don't know about that died.
Yeah.
Like that's. I'm gonna be honest with
And
you.
here's my caveat. I wish Dust could have been a good game if it hadn't been a PS whatever exclusive.
Yeah.
That like I wish Dust could have been an actual game. And so that's where if Nova could actually become a real game, and I qualify that by on PC, like I'll play it. But
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm just getting concerned. When the last thing we need is another first-person shooter. I mean, it's not like the
Exactly.
market's not oversaturated. Valkyrie was a good game. I wish they'd given it more of a chance. The problem that they had there was it got repetitive very quickly, and unless I have an Oculus, so I was playing it when it first came out, and that was fun. But once they transitioned to the PC, I think they probably, if they'd just done a little bit more with it and made it, I mean, or even just run. There's no space simulator out there right now. There's no first-person piloting game. There's no Wing Commander, and Star Citizen's a piece of crap. So if they had an open market, I think if they had done some first-person or first single-player missions or something like that, they could have made it into something that would have lasted longer. It just was so repetitive.
In typical CCP fashion, like I played Valkyrie a lot. Like I unabashedly, I will admit, I'm probably like I was definitely up there in like the top players in the world. But now the game's dead. But that game had so much potential from a competitive standpoint.
Absolutely,
it was incredibly complex, incredibly deep, and it was marketed like shit. And the gameplay,
It was
that was the
marketed like
problem.
Eve.
Yeah, it's marketed like
Marketed like
CCP.
Eve,
CCP,
and that was the problem. And that was the problem. Like
Yeah.
complete the problem. Like
Yeah, it's
they
kind
didn't know
of.
what they were doing as far as who they were trying to cater to, and they didn't open it up to PC instantly. They just had Oculus only,
Yeah.
which was another huge
I think
mistake.
VR was I don't think it was the right call initially to build the platform. Like they probably got a lot of dev support or something from Oculus or money, I don't know, whatever. But I don't think that enough people have it. You're just limiting your player base. So
Yeah.
I mean, that was the thing. You got to the point where you were playing that. I'm sure Chester could say the same thing because I wasn't as high on the list, but for like a month there, I was in the top like 20, and it was frustrating because they were like you'd see the same guys every day.
Well, let's be fair, Brisk. There's only
over and over,
25 people
same
playing.
people. I know, right?
Yeah, there's only like 100 concurrents. Yeah, exactly.
I'm a politician. I got to talk it up
Right.
like I was good.
Yeah.
So but I mean, it just got repetitive, and once you fall into a grind like that, why am I going to do this for nothing?
Yeah. Hey, so we've kind of derailed a little bit, and we deviated from our typical format. Typically, right about now, we'd be talking about some player news, but I think you guys kind of covered some of what the player news is going in. But we actually wanted to do a little bit of this show in regards to elite capital meta. I was exploring. I had lots of time at work to play on my phone, and I was looking at Reddit r/Eve a little bit, and I saw Chesser's name pop up quite a bit throughout the week, and how elite he is with Warcraft. So I thought it'd be a good time to talk about just a little bit of capital meta. You guys want to transition into that a little bit? First of all, like what happened, Chesser? I believe you are the person that Reddit loves to hate. Is this true?
I am the stain upon Eve, and I embrace it. So I made a thread. People got angry about it. Some people told me to kill myself, and then it exploded from there. And there we go. I basically said that rogue walls are ridiculous, and if you don't think they're ridiculous, you are either slow or you've shoved so much Arcanor up your ass that you no longer can see straight. And that was taken with much rage.
And what did Doom Chichilla have to say about that?
Oh, good old Doomy. I don't know what he said about that. I think every time I see his name, I just click the little minus button so I don't have to read
Just
what
in case.
he attempts to put into a paragraph.
Just
I
in
think
case.
it's something to the effect of get good at game or learn to adapt. Something like that. I'm still working on the getting good, so I couldn't say.
Get more gooder. Yeah. So this is kind of like the time to talk about a little of that capital meta and where we see. I mean, there's everyone could probably agree there's a proliferation of capitals and super caps and titans in EVE Online right now. Is this a problem?
Yeah, there was a loss this week of somebody ratting in their Titan in a Blood Raider Sotillo who just couldn't cut it.
Titan ratting.
Didn't even make it.
Titan ratting.
Yeah, I mean, what else would you use a Titan for, right?
Oh no, dude, you guys doing it all wrong. What you do is you get a bosun, and then you go to the haven, the rock haven ideally, and you bosun all the waves so you insta clear it, and then you move on. Like this is exactly what CCP designed these strategic war vessels for, is ratting. And of course, while you're ratting, you're completely safe because you have local intel, and your ship with HAW guns eviscerates all subcapital ships basically near it. So totally legit.
I think the proliferation itself that Caleb was talking about, I think that really started around the Rorqual rebalance, and it's been ramping up since then. And you have so much ore coming in from places like Delve, Asher, and it's all going into these capitals. And I can't speak directly to this, but I've heard from a lot of people that the larger groups don't actually like to use those capitals against each other in large scale stuff, because when they do, the game starts to act really weird, and you have no guarantee that your guns are going to fire or your fighter tubes will reload or anything like that. So the groups aren't using all these capitals and super capitals that they're making against each other. So you have a lot of these being pumped into the game, but not a lot of them being taken out. Asher, would you say that's about right?
We tried to use them. The game wouldn't let us.
Yeah. Again, we need to make Halo 7 instead of worrying about netcode or better servers.
Well, I mean, there's just a limit to how many people you could run on. 7. If 7 of those people could run on one server, it'll be surprising. They do keep making the servers run better, but eventually,
you can't. I mean, certainly there is netcode. Like the Eve code has not been. I mean, it's.
I think all the low-hanging fruit has been plucked.
The low-hanging fruit, I know, but I'm saying instead of developing like hypothetically Halo 7, make fleet battles actually possible. Like what was the last one, LK, where that frat was, or no, not a fort with the crazy ass like fighters that weren't doing shit. That was LK, right? Like last week.
Yeah, that was last week, and the same thing happened, and the same issues happened. It's just the problem is there are too many people, and I agree with you. Like I think CCP has like a small gold mine here in EVE because there's nothing else like it, and I think that for years they really haven't believed in the game, and so they haven't put their money back into it. I think if they spent their money on EVE, they could keep making that money for 20 more years, or maybe 10 more years at least. But they're desperately trying to capture the lightning in a bottle that they had once in 2 decades.
Yep, I 100% agree with that. Like from my point of view of small gang, like I'm thinking to myself, why the fuck would you try and pile in every single 2,000 people into a system? That just seems boring and really dumb. But I mean, from a alliance perspective, like obviously it makes sense. You want to bring as many people as you can. Like I get that.
Because if you don't, they will.
Yeah, right.
But like these ships, they're meant to be in these big set piece battles. right? That's their design philosophy. And A, when they are in the big set piece battles, they don't work right. And B, they're not, they're being used in everywhere else but the big set piece battles because they can do all those other things so effectively.
The problem with capitals is there's nothing to do with them that makes sense for capitals. Like I think carriers apply to sub capitals way too well and at way too much range. Like I'm actually fine with Dread Haws because the dreads are stuck there. Like that's okay with me. But the carriers have so much projection, so much application, and there's nothing for a carrier to shoot that isn't a subcap. So you're not going to shoot a structure because they're all damage capped. So like why would you do that? That'd be dumb. What used to happen was that you needed a subcapital fleet to gain control of the field. And then you would, once you had that control or felt like you had enough control, you would bring your capitals in. But now there's literally no reason to bring subcaps except maybe bombers and dictors.
Well,
There's
you
no other
needed,
use for
you needed
subcaps.
subcaps to support that cap fleet, but the cap fleet can actually just support itself. Like
Yeah,
the
now it
carriers
can
and
for sure.
supers can just own everything. So
Carrier fleet is superior to a battleship fleet in essentially every way. And once you figure your insurance cost, it's not that much more expensive.
Yeah, the cost too is outrageous, but yeah, I agree with you.
Well,
Like, the
and I think
carriers have no, they have no predator. Like Dread's not so much a Haw Dread, not really much either. From a subcapital standpoint, again, when I talk predator, I don't mean 70 or 80 dudes. At that point, it doesn't matter what the fuck you're flying. 80 dudes versus single carrier, duh. But like that's I think an issue. Like capital pilots have no subcapital predator that they're worried about at all. There is no ship that they're like, oh fuck, like I'm you know, that's annoying.
I wouldn't mind like people have suggested before like a hack battleship or something that applies major damage but is not terribly strong, so that you have to defend it. Like that'd be interesting. But the main issue I think overall is, I mean, I don't think 5 people should be able to kill a carrier, unless they can all get under the guns. But the problem is that right now that carrier has a Dromi, like its other 2 fighters are going to apply really well to you, and it'll probably do enough damage to you to stop you. So. But it's more like 4 or 5 carriers at that point become really oppressive to any fleet that isn't 50 people plus.
Oh yeah, I would even say like 2 carriers, 2-3 carriers at maximum is like getting outrageous like with smaller groups. And I personally disagree. I think that Eve right now, if the barrier to entry to nullsec is you need huge fleets of dudes or you need all of the shit, like that's gonna kill content. That's gonna kill shit. And right now we have a proliferation problem. And I personally think if you have 5 to 10 like really well kitted out, like high achieving, high caliber people, pilots, flying against essentially mongoloids in their ratting fits, I think it is very acceptable for that level of people to kill carriers. Like I don't.
I kill a ton of ratting carriers. I bring 1 Falcon, and that ruins that ratting carrier forever. Like 1 Falcon, it gets rid of 1 carrier.
It can. But the issue that I have with that argument is 1 Falcon ruins any 1 ship. Like that's because ECM is retarded. And if you're flying around in a smaller gang, having a Falcon with you makes it look a lot more scare factor than say another ship. And like that's why I hate the ECM argument. Like it doesn't matter what ship you're in, 1 Falcon will fuck you. You know what I mean? If that's the only argument to a carrier, bring a Falcon. Well, I think we've come to a bad place in game design.
Well, I don't want to be seen on the side of defending the carrier, but I also think that there is a limit to the power of the small gang, because these ships do cost several billion ISK, and if you're not like you said appropriately kitted out, that's what I think is the issue. Like you shouldn't be able to just kill it in any random ship, but if you are. Well, I mean, the thing is, 1 carrier is not a huge threat even to a small gang. In most cases,
it's not that huge of a threat, but like. Defanging isn't really possible, but like it still fucks battleships. Like the big DPS that you want to be able to kill it before it has backup, you can't bring a battleship. A battleship, like there's only 1 battleship that can comfortably tank carriers while still spitting out good DPS, and that's a battle snake, like super pimped out to do the job. And that's kind of outrageous because I mean battleships roam like shit because their warp speed is garbage. But yeah.
Who wants to take a 1.6 bill rattlesnake out to fight carriers anyway?
Well, the
just
thing
take a
is
1.6 bill carrier out. It insures a lot better.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't think carriers are expensive in this modern day and age and Eve, like at all. Like, I don't think that this is ever a good balancing point for argument. And I don't think that just because it's a quote capital ship, first of all, I don't give a fuck what the name is, but its price point and whatever it is by name should be irrelevant. Like, for example, a stealth bomber, if we're going by naming schemas, should be some like strategic asset, drop nukes on some fucking shit undetected. I don't know. But you see them so often, they're oppressive. It's very hard to kill them, even if you do catch them.
The problem is if you make carriers bad at shooting subcapitals, which I think they should be, what do they do at that point? Like, what is their purpose?
Their purpose
carry things?
a time ago was to have bitching like fit changes in between coasting out of triage and healing. Imagine that. A novel concept, because then it brings skill back to the carrier. That you can get some excellent types of gameplay out of it, and it's also not oppressive. And yes, if you were thinking I want to delete facts, that basically, yep.
Yeah.
They did not want to have slow cats back. They're extremely against having slow cats back.
I'm not saying bring slow cats back. I'm not saying bring the fucking sentry walls back. That's not what I'm saying. It's a really stupid game design trap you progress into if you make a capital ship that shits on subcaps and has no predator, like no threat.
So so we had mentioned earlier about with the small structure and make like, oh, what about making like a starship that's like a command center? I mean, have we reached that point in EVE Online where maybe we need to get that the next thing, or do we need to make some changes?
Well, EVE Online, I personally think, is so horridly broken
Yes.
from so many different levels as far as the balancing thing is
True.
concerned that I don't even want to talk about adding new things. The issue with balance, and having spoken with CCP at length to this because I've visited them quite a bit, I have quite a relationship, is that from a monetary standpoint, let's make as much money as possible. Wasting dev time on balance changes doesn't affect the bottom line as much as wasting that, I shouldn't say wasting, but putting that dev time into like making Abyss PvE sites, for example. And as Asher's pointed out, or a few other people here, the lightning in a bottle that is EVE and the IP that's here, they're trying to diversify and get something else. And they're trying to put in the minimal effort needed to either keep subs rolling or slight increases without having to do really hard work while they can expand into something potentially better, a newer market, if you will, because like EVE is tapped for the most part, unless massive changes happen in the game, which I don't foresee.
So what's the fix then?
Fix
Is
for
there
current
one?
EVE status?
Yeah.
I guess the question to ask would be to all the larger gang people, the people that are here flying at the Alliance level, is: are you happy with EVE? Like, do you think EVE is good right now? Are you having good content? Like, is life Gucci?
Which does remind me, there actually was a survey that went out recently. I know I received it. I couldn't do it at work. I couldn't open that in my browser. Damn government blocks. But yeah, there was a survey that went out. Did anybody else get that?
I got it.
Yeah. What did they ask in that thing?
I honestly haven't had a chance to fill it out yet.
Oh, geez.
I think it was mainly about Abyssal stuff.
Yeah,
I haven't
that's
had
the Abyssal thing.
I think it's Abyssal stuff. I don't think it was anything beyond that.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like,
but getting back to Chester's point, though, I think one of the things that I've been arguing for, and I'm going to start being more annoying about it internally, is I think faxes are completely broken, and they need to be balanced. It's not fun anymore. It's not funny. It's not fun. One fax in a wormhole is almost invincible. One fax, one fax with just regular tier 2 reppers can nullify the incoming DPS of 5 to 10 dreads easy. That's not what this was ever designed to be. And it's just denying content, because a lot of FCs are not going to jump in unless they've got full fax cover. And a lot of FCs won't take that fight unless they've got at least parity. And even then, the vast majority of these big Titan fights, you're rarely going to see large numbers of super cats or Titans getting killed, because everybody has to alpha the faxes off the field. And by the time the faxes are dead, you've gotten enough time in there for the Titans and the supers to break tackle and get out. So all of these big fleet battles, when they're not, mired down in desyncs and disconnects, They just turn into who can lose the most faxes.
Faxes are
That's
just
not
tank for other capitals.
That's all it is. They're just meat shields, and that's why, I mean, you see this super proliferation, and part of it's because they don't die that much at these big fleet fights. I think the last 2 years of all the fleet battles that I've been in, and I've been in almost all of them from MTECO on down. I think the biggest loss of Titans we saw was when we dropped on GTG and killed 5 of their Erebuses, and that was only because their faxes were in the wrong place because they fucked up. You know, that's not how it's supposed to be.
The things that like you're talking about with faxes, I agree with 100%. Faxes immediately wreck whatever I'm trying to do too, because they outrep anything I have on the field by magnitude. And of course, they're immune to newts because 3200 cap charges are really fucking OP. But like, you know how you talk about big battles and you talk about this proliferation issue? I think that that's the narrative problem with Eve, and that's why I think that, I guess that's why I'm so vocal about what smaller groups of people do inside this game, because you know you see these YouTube videos of the cinematic Eve that CCP puts out. You know, these glorious battles and everything looks wonderful, blah blah blah. I'm like, that looks fucking epic. And
This
don't get me
is
wrong, I'm
not
pretty sure-
Eve.
Exactly. And I'm sure that that's what draws a lot of people into the game, and that's not bad. But when
But
you
it's not real. either.
exactly, it's
It's a
not
bait and switch.
real.
It's not
It's-
real. That's the problem.
Exactly. It's
Here,
just like
I'll-
Star Citizen.
I'll
But-
fix half of faxes. I'm sorry, I'm stepping on you. I'll leave you
No,
alone.
go ahead, mate. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'll fix half of Fax's problems right now. Half their resist and give them 1.5 times the current buffer, so they can't be self-rep. It doesn't fix they're the tank for your fleet problem, but it fixes the situation where you have a fax tackled and you just can't kill it. If you hold the fax for long enough, you spend enough time. If it's a buffer ship, it will eventually die, and that will make a fax a lot less of a problem where one fax has ruined your fight. And that happens a lot where someone jumps in
I
one
agree
self-rep
100%.
fax. You've got, and I've been in a situation, this actually happened to me recently. I had like 70 Cerberuses, 70, shooting Freya missiles and having the drones on it, and I could not break one fax. Like
We had
it's too high a buried entry.
we had the exact same issue 2 or 3, I guess it was a month ago now. We had one minnow. We had 150 guys in Ishtars and Macarials, and we could not break the thing. It took 20 minutes plus, and we ended up having to drop dreads on it. You know, and that's just bullshit. There's no excuse for 150 guys against one, and you can't beat that one ship. That's just overpowered. And the other thing I would, in addition to your buffer suggestion, which I agree, I think is a good one, and I'm gonna make that point. This is a capital ship. It's designed for capital logi. There is no reason why it should apply to subcaps. Period. You should not be able to rep subcaps in a capital ship. I just don't. I think that's
Increase the scan res, so at least
Yes, please.
it can have some reps, but not where like each
Well, right,
cycle
it should
is
scale.
raising their shields from 100 to 0.
correct. It should scale. I mean, the smaller the smaller the scan res, the less it applies. You know, that it
Yes.
just anything
Also-
that reduces that.
Also,
Hey.
if you can stop Rokels from repping from 200k away, that'd be great too. Okay, thanks.
Hey, Asher,
But,
are you supposed to be in a fleet right now, you a-hole?
I might form one when we're done.
Yeah, you got
But-
fans waiting for you, man.
Oh man,
The other, I guess it's the other part with that is the way that Eve is done now. When I mean that from like the big power players like, you know, Asher and Goons and, you know, well, I would say PL normally, but not really. NC dot, sure, test, whatever, is these huge epic battles which cover, you know, Forbes magazine and all this shit. I mean, yeah, it's fucking cool. Not really if you're there, and it sounds cool in theory. And the biggest issue that I have with them is it happens like how often? Once in a blue moon. And
6 months.
again, oh yeah, 6 months. And like, let's be honest, who the fuck wants to play a game where it's only interesting every 6 months? Like, that's why I guess I'm pushing for the small gang style, and why I think it's really important is because if you want to get any new blood into Eve and take away this idea that it's just 100% spreadsheets, very slow, and if you do get into a big fight, it's a crippling lag fest. Why can't you bring forward the play style or the idea or the marketability of what, you know, a lot of guys like Lucy and, you know, like Hydra turn left, you know, like Tuskers do, because I think it's engaging. It's a little bit more achievable from an early on standpoint from a new player, where they can get involved in these small, like fun, like aggressive fights. You know, I guess I wish that there was more to do regarding that. The way Nullsec stands now, and you know, when people are telling me that I'm a fucking Mongo on Reddit, and you know, you just need X amount of people, like
they can't, like, I don't understand why people can't see that if you can't do anything worthwhile unless you have 70 friends, how badly that hurts that game. How
CCP
badly it
tried to
hurts the
do
game.
that. That's what Entosis was. Like, you were supposed to have like elite PvP small gangs flying around defending the nodes, and
That's a cute idea.
it didn't work. And you can't force, like, the problem is you can't force that kind of behavior. That's the problem.
course
CCP makes the sandbox. They don't make the theme park, and there's a lot of interconnecting parts with your suggestion that you'd have to break down to get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that what I'm talking about is huge broad strokes, but making, I don't know, I'm just trying to say it's
Well-
making content more easier to find for smaller groups of people if they're willing to put in the effort to go like roam deep into enemy space. Where
Well, I think
before
personally,
it used
I
to be a
think
thing, but not anymore.
Rorqual changes would be a big part of that, where you could force them to come defend it. Like, yeah, it's going to be annoying because they're going to drop supers on you, but you can just bug out and hit the next one. I know in Delve there are currently 186 Rorquals mining right now. So, but part of the problem is that if you tackled one, it's like likely that they don't need the help to stop you. So.
Yeah, and not only that, they can tank you so comfortably and so easily that the enemy fleet has so much time to create a super ping with the perfect fleet with so many people. That's like the other issue that I have with all of these capital ships. They take forever to fucking kill. Make it a rush. Make it like, oh fuck, something big got tackled. Like, we need to fucking get there, instead of, oh, they can tank, or oh, they can just light a Cyno instantly, or oh, well, I mean, they have so much EHP, it'll take them a while, so we can easily rage ping and form up. Like,
I agree. I mean, I think you should be able to put them into panic quickly if you have the DPS. Like, I think they should be a buffer ship, not a repping ship. So that gives you, a 7-minute timer if they're well trained, for them to form, which is a reasonable amount of time to expect someone to read it and get into the fleet.
yes, if they did not have any tank and it was just the buffer of the rogue wall plus panic, I would believe that would be a great compromise to start with, 100%.
I think it's certainly a positive change. I'm all on board with it. I mean, I have Rorquals and I do mine in them sometimes, but I'm always just like, this is too easy. This is ridiculously easy. Like, it's so strong to have both kinds of tank.
I think one of the conversations we hit on in the lobby, like pre-show, is the idea of what is fundamentally Eve, right? And I think the same problem across all three with carriers, super carriers, faxes, and Rorquals, I guess that's 4, but is they all have very high reward with little risk / they're extremely flexible or whatever. And so this idea of being rewarded for high skill and like high risk is being outweighed by being rewarded for things that require low skill, low input, or low risk. And that is what's frustrating about those specific ships. And like, fundamentally, is it Eve in that sense, right? Like, Eve used to be this more hardcore, like, you had to research, you need to learn, you need to understand like the concepts, the mechanics, and you are rewarded for understanding those things. And with these higher tier, like the capitals in general, there's not that repercussion, or that there's not that what's the word, penalty, right? Like, for not knowing those mechanics. You don't need to know much.
That's actually one of my biggest problems with the Rorqual, is that the greater value of the thing isn't even killable, and that's like
the drones.
The faction drone things that, what do they cost a piece? Like $1 billion?
The excavators are
For
like
a total of like
the
9
Rourke
10 bill
itself
worth
is
of drones.
1.2 or something.
And then even if you manage to kill the Rourke, they already have their excavators inside of a Wet 2 depot, and they can just come pick that up whenever they want. You can reinforce it, but you're not going to stay there and camp it for the 24 hours of the reinforced time.
A reinforced depot should not be scoopable. It's super weird design decision that I've never understood.
Even if they like die with the Rourke, the greater value of that ship is still alive, and that bothers me. And I think that there needs to be mechanics to actually.
Well, and then it creates
safety.
Also like a dichotomy there, where you've got this crazy super tanky mining ship that now people throw 4 scrams on and go tackle supers with it, right?
Well,
because
part of
it's
the other thing
1.2
is
billion and it tanks more than a super.
it's the We2. You may actually be surprised how dumb some of these guys are. I mean, it's just you're provided with an easy way to get out of losing anything of value, and they still manage to screw it up. It's kind of
Do
fun.
you want
I
to know
never
something
mind
even
when
more
it comes to
insane?
those, I'm lazy.
You can have a mobile jump drive, and you can deploy it next to your rogue wall, and then MJD out of bubbles. That
The,
works. That's the thing. It's great.
I've
I
never
think-
seen that. That's
I think it's
awesome.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's
The
really
rogue was
silly that
actually under the mass cap that
Yes. it is.
limits larger ships from using the mobile micro jump drives. So they can just plop one down and activate it.
Yep. What
That's
a
hilarious. I
what a
didn't
fair
know
and
that.
balanced game, Fleet Commanders.
Well, you can't scoop mobile micro jump drive, so it works on one rock. It's a sort of a niche application.
I mean, it's definitely a niche application, but again, like if you're out roaming enemy space with a fast moving like gang looking for shit, the only thing you find are botting, Gilas, rattles, NSA carriers 500k away from any site you go to, so they
It's
instantly
stupid
yeah.
that
off
carriers
The
those
and
NSA
smart.
carriers can
And then
rogue
rogue
in a
walls.
line.
and then rogue walls. It's just
Ratting while aligned into carrier super carrier is dumb. I don't know how to fix it, but it is really dumb.
I've actually put a little thought into this, but I think everybody's going to hate me for the idea. They removed triage from carriers, but why not create a module that you have to have active and has like a 5-minute timer if you want to bring out like fighters?
That'd be great. And take away the NSA, because the super carrier that can lock faster than most subcaps and then fuck them in the ass.
That's
is,
so bullshit.
great.
You would ruin my
Oh,
nano hugger fleet.
Carriers too. Oh, the nano nid fleet, baby. Dude, those things are actually swift vessels, even
I'm
though
going
they're
1,300 meters a second in
Dude,
mine,
I
dude.
know,
That's-
dude.
Yeah, we roam around in like 20 of them and treat them like armor Ishtars. Like they're that fast.
That's incredible, dude. If you put the high grade ascendancies on those puppers, those things are warping swiftly as well. I mean, if you ever need to gate,
That's the problem. You don't just have a scepter burn ahead of you and use it as a sign.
yeah, that's the other thing I really hate fucking Sinos a lot. Like, there's no counterplay. If you have full field control, like grid control, even if you have a inhibitor, which is irrelevant because it's only 100 kilometers and it's easily killed, but regardless of that, like the fact that they can just throw away Sino inties or whatever to you, and you just can't, there is no counterplay to it. Like, what do you do? It's very annoying.
There's a way that CCP could fix that, but again, I think just about everybody here would hate me for it. Make it so that when capitals take it, well, you can't remove the Sinos, right? Because that would take forever to move your capitals.
Oh no, I'm not saying
it's
remove the
cancerous
Sino.
as is.
I'm just saying make counterplay.
If you made it so that after you take a Sino, you can't aggress targets for like an hour or even just like 30 minutes, that would remove a lot of the bullshit.
That's ridiculous.
I think more of like make Sino inhibs cheaper and smaller so that you could actually carry them and stuff.
If you made them scoopable, it would increase their power a lot. I mean, part of the problem is that you have to drop one every time. You're putting down like 35 million each. Like that adds up.
I thought they were a lot more. I thought they were like.
The big issue that I have with the Sino inhibitors is like it's 100 kilometers, so you just warp to a ping 101 kilometers away and light the Sino, or 150 kilometers away, light the Sino, and then warp down to it. Like it doesn't do really anything at all.
And it's a long on landing process too, right?
Yeah, it's very long, and it's not. I mean, I just think it's outrageous that there is no a potential to see the Sino coming, because as it stands now, if a Sino drops on you and you are not aligned in a larger ship like a battleship NWDing, you can die. Because if a Nyx or a Hell comes through there, NSA's on, like you will get killed, and there's no counterplay to that.
If
what
you warp? No, that's
do?
not correct. If you warp as soon as that Sino goes up, they can't load grid fast enough. It takes 10 to 15. 10 is the ultra lowest you're ever going to load a grid, but it's usually 15 to 20 seconds. So I mean, unless you're in the slowest landing ship I've ever heard of, you're out of there.
Hey, thank you, The Rock CMT, for following us on Twitch Prime. Thank you.
What about
yeah,
the
100 MNAV ships, battleships? Many battleships have 15 to 20 second align time.
Yeah, I mean you're right on the edge, but it's got a load grid,
fucked.
put the NSA on, and lock you, and then point you. Like it's a long period of operations. But I mean, the thing is, sometimes they'll just run them, like they have them up, and like they don't put anything through. So like, oh, maybe it's okay, and then something comes through. You won't notice that until it's actually in system on grid. That's when they can get you.
Yeah, I just wish that there was some way to either have a spool up or have ships that have like I don't know what to say. Like I think Sinos are needed. I'm not saying that they're not needed and they're not important, but if literally so much gameplay is just warping just disposable ships to a grid and then oh look, we got it off this time and now everyone jumped through, it's like we have no grid control. But I just think that's really piss poor.
I don't think it's a solvable issue in a way that's satisfactory to multiple play styles. Like it does suck for the small gang play style, but the proposals like sign of spool ups ruin the fleet style. So it's like it's sort of a pick your poison thing with CCP, I think. And in this case,
Well,
they're probably going to err on the side of
more players,
of fleet
obviously.
because
Yeah,
so many
obviously,
people,
yeah. But it's just, yeah. I mean, honestly, the sign wouldn't be such a huge deal if super capitals and capitals weren't like insta oppressive to
Yeah,
everything.
the power issue is more the issue. Like the fact that they're going to put a super and a capital through, and they're going to kill your Orthrus. Like that's the issue to me. I think more than the actual Sino itself.
Yeah, because there's zero counterplay. There's zero, like, if you're roaming, you're in a small gang, you're in a medium-sized gang, and they drop a super on you.
The kind of
What are
place
you
to
gonna
leave grid. See ya. And that's it. That's all you can do.
Yeah. Like if it's a hell, GG. Like I was actually out. This is the most outrageous bullshit ever. I was out roaming 2-man gang. Nyx drops on us, and I'm flying with someone who is flying a Legion 100 MN that goes 5.2k, linked, snaked, purple, fucking AB, and 13 kilometer a second Dromi, 70% web, and it orbits outside of the heated scram range of his, True Sancha scram at 14, and kills him. Like, what?
It's super strong, guys. I gotta go drop on some G caps and see if they'll let us. I know and drop the hell on me. So
Speaking of
Have
which,
fun,
right? Yeah. I think.
I want to go do that.
Yeah, thanks, Asher, for coming joining us.
thanks for having me on.
Yep, and I think with that note, I mean, we've kind of exhausted all the cap hatred and the I'm sorry, but the Chesser hatred. I love you, Chesser. I think you're a good guy, but
Thanks,
you know,
mate.
it is what it is. But yeah, I think we had a good run here, a good set full of a lot of interesting talk. I think the audience enjoys it. So if we want to start wrapping it up, and we'll go into some shout outs, unless you have some last minute thoughts.
I just want to throw it in
Long-range
there.
fighters.
Go ahead.
They should just get rid of long range fighters.
Yeah. Nerf faxes, nerf Rockwells on their reps, nerf those long range fighters. There's no reason for fighters at 10,000k. It doesn't even make sense.
I don't think there's any reason for fighters that can point in web, but that's just me. I guess the last thing I would say is before signing off is like at the one hand, I look at CCP and everything they do from a standpoint of how are they trying to make as much money with as little effort as possible. And I look at where Eve's going, and I see a lot of skins, and I see a lot of reused skins, and I see a lot of like basic little PvE content. And I think back to the days when big updates would happen, things would happen like either wormholes or the Dominion rebalances or shit like that. And I see that not happening really. I see basically cash grabs, and that makes me sad. And it makes me sad when you look at a game that I think everyone here in agreement is caps are bad, Eve is too safe, proliferation is happening too much, and production is outscaling destruction by large margins.
Yeah.
And nothing is being done about that. And the reason why, in my opinion, again, this could be massive tinfoily, but I don't think it is because it makes logical sense to me, is if you have a game that you've basically tapped as much as you can, because the reputation of Eve amongst gaming communities is that it's the game that nerds call nerds play, that's slow paced, spreadsheeted, and you'll never catch up to that guy who's sitting and bosoning Havens in his Titan. That type of groupthink has already caught hold in the gaming community. So Eve's player base will never grow significantly from what it is now, and that their model is basically just milking whales of the community. Star Citizen's very good at that, but Eve is because they actually kind of a product. But that means that in the type of game that's being created right now, those whales that keep coming back, that keep logging on their 6 Rockwell alts, will disagree with everything I'm saying, a lot of what Asher is saying, and other people because of the game that they're playing. And CCP is going to take their side, not because they don't think that might not be good for the game, but because at the end of the day, that's what's keeping most of the lights on. You know what I mean? And
To a certain extent, I would agree with you, but I think at the same time, keep in mind the guys with the 6 Rockwell accounts are not they're plexing their accounts. They're not paying for subs.
I mean,
so a lot of these guys with
that's still
accounts,
But it comes from
still
somewhere.
generating money though. Like those plex have to be.
Yeah,
there to
it
buy in the
comes
first place.
from money.
right. I mean, it's from other players that are spending the money, and I think that the whales, at least in that regard, while I think perhaps they get maybe a little more attention because they're the ones that are more actively playing the game every day. I think that there's still things about Eve that are fun that new players can get into. I mean, this is the only PvP game that has ever given me the shakes. and I've been playing MMOs for 20 years, and that I think, at least that in that regard, that's still part of the fun of it. But I think at the same time, you're right. I'm going to push for, more out of the box thinking and trying to get some more content creation in the game, because I think that in and of itself is the biggest issue that we all have to deal with.
Brisk, I'm wondering, have you been on CSM before, or is this your first term?
My first time.
It is. I really am happy that you're a politician IRL, and I'm also happy that you have clearly defined goals. But
I know I don't expect to make any progress.
It's unfortunate because like if CSM worked the way it was supposed to work, I'd be like fucking like awesome sauce to have this situation. But like I've known a lot of people on CSM and have had the chance to have many frank discussions, and it's unfortunate. And like I don't really like to be all woe, but
no, look, that's the thing. I get into the same funks where I'm like, I'm never going to be able to do anything. This is never going to be successful. I'm just one voice screaming at clouds, and these guys are not going to listen. But at the same time, when I see some of the changes that have been, gone through in the last couple of years, I feel like, all right, they're starting to listen. They're starting to realize that they need to fix certain things. And while they may not always get it right, at least they're moving in that direction, and they're not going in a completely opposite direction, which is what I saw when I did the same kind of thing with Sony back in Star Wars Galaxies back in 03, 05. I mean, they literally went in the opposite direction from what everybody was telling them to do, and it killed the game. And I think CCP at least have recognized they can't do that. But I like skins. I think they're fun, but I'd rather see more tools for content creation than anything else, because that's what really drives the game.
Cool.
I'm talking too much, so sorry, Ken.
No, dude, not at all. I think it's good. Content creation is lacking so much in EVE, and a lot of content creators are, burned out, shit like that. I don't know, but there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard rumors that even devs are burned out, so burnout happens.
Shocking. EVE devs burned out.
We could have a whole show on content creation. Kale, write that one down.
No.
Haven't we done that?
You know who's not burned out? The community team. Hey.
Oh.
The knife in the night. Jesus, that was brutal, but I like
That's my CEO. I think I'm gonna drop court.
I mean, I wish they hadn't fired the community team, because Logi Bro was one of the people that I felt did a lot for the game. So
he did.
It's unfortunate.
He was great to work with. Honestly, he was a good guy. I liked him. And he gave me my bitchin' overview.
I mean, we're also 3 weeks from AT, and I can confirm Thunderdome still currently does not work. So
is it really just 3 weeks?
I don't think an AT is going to happen next year. I'd be very, very surprised if it does, which is unfortunate.
I was surprised it happened this year.
Yeah,
I'm excited that it will. I hope, but Thunderdome Access was one of those things. They were like, it really helps, and it really steps up practice, and they're still not.
It's just
working,
it doesn't earn money, so the company makes it relevant. So there you go. I just hope that Halo 7 is gonna have the money, be the cash cow that they want. But I struggle to believe that a game company with no FPS experience can wade into, COD and Fortnite, and Fortnite third person, but PUBG, all that jazz, and have a great niche to itch out there.
I can't wait for CCP to try doing Battle Royale.
Okay, oh god.
I'm already over the Battle Royale hype.
Dude, EVE Online is supposed to be a Battle Royale, god damn it.
I'm so tired of Battle Royale. Yeah. I think I'm done with PUBG. I'm going to delete it off my computer.
Survival games are where it's at, man.
You know what you should play? You should play the Duck game, which is a 8-bit 4-person Battle Royale with ducks. It's actually the best game ever.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, dude.
All right. So I think with that, what is burnt out is the end of this episode, and I think we should start rolling to some shout outs, Merdad.
Oh yeah, well, we should mention if you want to go talk to some EVE nerds out in real life and complain about Faxes some more. You could do so in Poland on July 13th. You could do so in Steel City on July 21st. You could do so in Manchester on July 28th, and in Glendale, Wisconsin on August 4th.
Oh, don't forget Minnesota on the 25th of July.
Could not. EVE Northeast is also occurring August 2nd through 5th near Albany, New York. And then there's an Eve NT slash AT15 finals party in Nottingham on August 18th to coincide with the finals
Yeah.
there. And then there's monthly meetups all over the place.
Yeah,
Toronto,
you know,
Vancouver, Des Moines.
you kind of glossed over a little bit about Eve Northeast, but Eve Northeast, I want to say this is either the third or the fourth time they've done this, and it's a rather big gathering, and you see a lot of guys like who's there? Dirk McGurk is there. Um, what's that Jay McLean. I was gonna say, what's that meathead's name? Jay McLean. They bring devs out there. It's actually a pretty big shindig, and you pay $130, and it covers your meals. I want to say for Thursday night, all of Friday, all of Saturday, and then Sunday morning breakfast. And that it's a camping type of deal. So it's actually a fairly rad shindig.
Yeah, check it out. And if you don't have a meetup in your area, start one.
Yeah,
Advertise on evemeet.net, and you'll get some nerds out there.
somewhere.
Alright,
Speaking of
some
nerds,
shoutouts.
yeah,
What about nerds?
yeah, the shout outs. That's the nerds are gonna do the shout outs.
All right, Chester, can you get a shout out?
Who should I shout out to? I want to shout out to the guys who stream sniped me today. That was legit. And I also want to shout out to Reddit because your hate makes me stronger.
Passionate. And then where can we check you out? Where do you stream?
He died.
He streams at twitch.tv/ChesserSB.
The hype man.
ChessurSB.
The hype man, bringing it
Forgot we
in.
had the professional here.
Yeah, boy.
Brisk, who you want to shout out?